One of the frequent activities that happens during a Shabbos service here is the weekly "Let's Go Find a 10th Man" experience. For years, we could count on Lev Jasper. But sometimes Lev gets busy. He's got a lot of kids, and on one particular occasion, I remember Nathaniel and I went out to go find somebody at Monterey Market on a Shabbos day. We needed one more person. Now, Nathaniel, for those of you who don't know him, is a very tall black man with long, long dreadlocks. Very loving, very friendly. But you can imagine if you're just sort of shopping for your fruit on a Saturday morning at Monterey Market, and these two people with kippots and tzitzit, and one's got dreadlocks, are walking towards you with a big smile. People are sort of diving behind the heirloom tomatoes and the organic plums to get out of the way. And we found this wonderful man who had never even heard of the Beit Midrash, let alone ever had an aliyah, and he turned out to be Jewish. And he came back here. Thank God. And he came back here, and
here he is.
And here he is.
Hey,
Daniel.
You got to start over so he can hear the story.
I won't start over, but Nathaniel, I'm giving you some kavod. First of all, for inspiring us to put on this evening, and I was telling a brief story about how you and I went to Makarav, a 10th man from Monterey Market once. And the funniest thing about this guy is that he came back here and he had his bar mitzvah. He got an aliyah, and that is not an untypical experience at the Beit Midrash. Somebody comes through here, they've never really had any connection to Yiddishkeit. Next thing they know, they're reading from the Torah, and there's a bunch of people who look like me and Rabbi Welton dancing around them, singing songs for 20 minutes in the middle of their Saturday morning shopping experience. It's no joke that probably the most consistent food that we serve at the Beit Midrash Kiddush is nuts. Nut spread, nut butter, this kind of nut, a few other nuts, whatever kind of nuts you would like. When people come and visit, say, from the East Coast, and we say, "Oh, you must join us for our raw Kiddush," they're usually expecting something warm, something hot. But there's been many, many interesting experiences I've had here, and of course, Tamara and Noah have been pivotal in this experience, as
Did you say pitiable?
Pivotal. Pivotal. Did I say pitiable? Maybe I did. As were the Felds. And I was thinking about my first experience with the Felds, and particularly the Feld children. And of course, there are three Feld children, Daniel, Ruchel, and David. And I had a moment with each of them that really sort of let me know these were just, not your typical kids. The first was, when I moved to Berkeley, I was 32. And I remember going for a walk with Rachel for the first time. She was 11. And we were walking along, and I'm asking her things like, so what's your favorite class, and what's the name of your school? And she stops and turns to me and says, Michael, we haven't had much time to speak. I'd like to get to know you a little better. Tell me about yourself. I thought, wow, this is not just your typical 11-year-old. And then I went out to Sophia's Cafe. For those of you who might remember, was kosher briefly for a time in Solano. And I went out with Daniel. We went for lunch. And I said to him, at that time, I said, Daniel, I have to say, it feels a little bit odd. I'm a 32-year-old man hanging out with a 14-year-old boy. And he says, how do you think it feels for me? I'm a 14-year-old boy hanging out with a 32-year-old man. But the best thing was, around David, who at least externally seems to be the firmest of them all. I've always wanted to maintain a little more of an image of frumkeit around him. And, so in my attempt, I went to the mikveh. I knew he was going to be there. I went to the mikveh before Shabbos. I really Hasidish. And just before I get to the mikveh, he looks at me and he says, "Nice tan lines," which was a clear indication that I swam in a Speedo during the week. But Anyway, I'm going to tell you just a couple of other things about some of the interesting people here. One of whom, of course, as you all know and love, is Reb Herschel Yolis, the Sambor Rebbe. Now, it's not every day that you get to be housemates with a Hasidic Rebbe or spend the night at the same place with a tzaddik. But I had the occasion, on many occasions, to do this, and after a while I got to feel a certain comfort level with Reb Yolis. And so, there were questions I'd always wanted to know, what does a Rebbe do when you're not around? What does a Rebbe really think about? Is he always just getting drashot? What goes on in the mind of a tzaddik? So one night I was pushing him back from Shavuos to the JCC, and I said, Reb Yolis? He says, yes? I say, Reb Yolis, can I ask you a question? Of course, you've been asking me a question. What is the question? Reb Yolis, do you ever wish you could wear jeans? And he said, no, not jeans. No, I like my clothes. So, and then another time, I was here. These are tzaddik jokes. They're very gentle. And I said to him, I was about to go to sleep. It was midnight. We've been up all night eating sardines and various people coming in and out of the Beit Midrash and falling asleep and then looking up and saying, I need to daven mincha. So anyway, I was about to go to sleep and I said, Reb Yolis, I've always wanted to know something. After I go to sleep, do you stay up all night and do Kabbalistic incantations? And he said, Kabbalistic incantations? No incantations. So I went to sleep and closed the door, and about 10 minutes after I laid my head on the pillow, I hear a knock on the door. No incantations. I'm not quite sure what that meant. Although around 3 in the morning I did happen to get up, but I heard some talk radio in his room. So anyway, I want to turn it back over to my brother. Is this a good time to turn it over? Maybe not. Is it? Yeah? I'll turn it back to Saul, and I'll come back with some more stories in a little bit.